public hearing on the tax levy. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ginny, would you please take the roll? Austriaco? Here. Vessler? Here. Collins? Here. Coyle? Here. Lee? Here. Sullivan?
Here.
Owen? Here. Okay, this is a public hearing on the 2017 tax levy, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mary Coleman.
The purpose of tonight's hearing is to allow an opportunity for the citizens of Main Township High School District 207 to provide any comments on the tax levy. The district has chosen to comply with the Truth in Taxation Act, which requires us to publish in a newspaper, general circulation, also publish on our website, and then conduct a public hearing. You're required to comply with Truth in Taxation if you're asking for a levy that is 5% greater than previous years. Although we are not asking for a levy that is 5% greater, we're asking for substantially less than that. We are choosing to be transparent and comply with Truth in Taxation. The levy is 3.25% higher than last year, and that includes $50 million in new property. We expect only $15 million in new property, which would reduce our levy to 2.46%. If you are an existing homeowner, you should be limited to 2.1% increase in your property tax bill. Anything that is greater or less than 2.1% is the result of an assessment adjustment and not the result of an increase in the levy that the district would ask for, because we are limited to 2.1%. So I will turn it over now to see if there are any public comments on our 2017 tax levy.
Any public comments? Then could I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
Austriaco?
Yes.
Vessler? Collins? Coyle? Lee? Sullivan? Owen? Aye. Okay, we will now call to order the regular meeting of the board for December 4th, 2017. Ginny, would you please take the roll? Austriaco? Here. Vessler? Collins? Here. Coyle? Here. Lee?
Here.
Sullivan? Owen? Here. Okay, we start with 207's Best Award for Fine and Performing Arts this month. We're going to start with Maine West. Mr. Nick.
Yes, I'd like to have Ella Kurtz stand up. Okay, so Dr. Haugen wrote a fantastic letter for Ella, and it really cannot be carried down, so I'm going to read this letter as is because it's that special. Ella Kurtz is a shining star in the area of fine and performing arts. She is a talented musician, dancer, and artist, not just performing in all these areas, but excelling in all of these areas. She has taken a vast array of courses, including Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, concert band, symphonic band, wind ensemble. In addition, she has taken almost all accelerator AP classes since her freshman year. This year alone, she has AP Psychology, AP Physics C, and AP Statistics, along with her Art 3 and wind ensemble courses. She has earned a 4.58 GPA. She has performed in the V-Show, musical, and marching band, and has also been the drum major. Ella is admired by students and staff alike for the beauty she brings to art, music, and dance. Her Art 2 teacher, Mr. Camarada, said, Ella was an extremely polite student, always giving her best effort, always striving for great results. She is very talented and a dedicated student. She is currently painting a fire hydrant for Operation North Pole and is a member of the National Art Society. Mr. Paler, her current Art 3 teacher, says Ella is an incredibly positive student with solid drawing and painting skills. She's always working in class, eager to learn new things, and offer assistance to other students. Her contributions are thoughtful and on point and given with consideration to multiple viewpoints and perspectives. She brings a positive energy to those around her. Ms. Jacob, her orchestra sponsor, raves about Ella. Ella is a stunningly beautiful dancer with excellent technique and performance quality. She is a leader this year as one of my fourth-year members and has a keen talent for choreography. Her talent and involvement in the fine arts program here at Maine West is unsurpassed. She can do it all well, and I'm proud to have her represent us as 207's Best Fine Arts. And lastly, her brand director for the past 4 years, Mr. Gerstmeyer, says Ella truly is one of the best. She is a talented flute player, drum major, dancer, and leader. She leads in a way that other students feel welcome. She talks through problems with her classmates and makes them comfortable to make mistakes and learn from them. She takes ownership of her own shortcomings and works to improve them quickly. She's an expressive musician, dancer, and performer. She is an intelligent young woman who doesn't make others feel unintelligent. Her personality makes you want to not only talk to her, but learn more about her. I am super proud of Ella for receiving this honor, and that I have had the pleasure of working with her. And Dr. Haugen summarizes, we are all proud of Ella's accomplishment at Maine West, and are pleased to honor her as one of 207's best. No.
These guys are all new, you don't have to see them. Gotta break them into.
Share with us where you're going to school next year and what your plans are after me.
Well, I don't know where I'm gonna go to school next year. I've sent in all of my applications and I'm waiting to see how much scholarship money I get to decide for sure where I'm going to go, but I plan on going to either industrial design or civil engineering.
Oh, Ella, who's with you tonight? Can you introduce them?
My mom and dad are back there.
CJ, you got that, you were first. So
Yeah, I got it now.
You got it.
Okay, next up is Maine East, Dr. Rushke.
Good evening. I am also reading for Dr. Pressler, wrote a letter for 207's Best at Maine East, Elena Lacio. Please stand for us. On behalf of the faculty and staff of Maine East High School, I am pleased to name Elena Lacio as one of District 207's Best for her outstanding achievement in fine arts. Elena Lacio has been a dedicated art and orchestra student for the past 4 years at East. She is a 4-year visual arts student, having taken Art 1, 2, 3, and currently AP Studio Art, as well as Photo 1. Additionally, she has taken orchestra all 4 years and has been a member of the Symphonic Orchestra for the past 2 years. In addition to her fine arts classes, she is currently enrolled in AP Psychology, AP Environmental Science. On the co-curricular side of the arts, Helene has performed in 2 musicals, various concerts, and a V-show. In AP Environmental Science, Helene is working on a year-long service project in which she'll be working with National Art Honor Society to create artistic stepping stones in Maine East Butterfly Garden, incorporating research on the type of wildlife supported by these native plants. The end goal is, through their art, to educate others about these species by painting them onto the stepping stones in the garden. The following comments by adults who know her and have worked with her speak consistently to her positive attitude, leadership by example, and her willingness to help others. Maine East Orchestra Director Sarah Georgievic notes, Helene has been an outstanding 4-year orchestra student. As a dedicated violinist, she has contributed to the ensemble through her positive attitude and actions. She's one of the first students to volunteer to mentor young players when they visit East for String Technique Days. She's also a member of the Tri-M National Music Honor Society. Her art teacher, Ms. Eisenberg, offered the following. Personally, I know Helene because of her art classes she has been enrolled in, as well as her service in National Art Honor Society. She is currently enrolled in AP Studio Art, where I have been thrilled with her performance and her growth as a studio artist. She has gained confidence and developed her artistic voice. She not only has technical ability, she also has started to develop her conceptual ideas. Since last year, I have noticed this change. Her confidence has grown and she wants to present a certain truth to her work, as this is why she no longer simply makes projects, but devotes her talents to make art that has a purpose. Her AP portfolio is developing with the complexity and sophistication of a true artist. Her work is deep, engaging, challenging, and technically superior. I have seen Helene become so much more in tune with who she is and what she wants her work to say to others. She has tackled serious topics with grace and maturity, spending several weeks this semester as an art therapy intern at Lutheran General Hospital, working with early onset Alzheimer's patients. Elaine embodies what we in fine arts cherish. She is dedicated, humble, and methodical artist who shows enthusiasm, passion, and respect for the arts. Elaine paints, draws, photographs, sings, and plays music on her violin. Her counselor, Ms. Rinaldi, as her counselor, I can say that she is one of the most motivated, dedicated, and driven students. She is someone who consistently works hard to maintain her grades while taking challenging courses. I was her basketball coach during her freshman year when I first got to know her well. Her two teammates chose her to be the team captain, a role model in which she's always displayed a positive attitude. Elaine led each of our practices and games by example. Her role as captain fit her perfectly, as I believe she understands the value of goal setting and the importance of teamwork. To this day, she is well respected by her peers and extremely unselfish in sharing her time and talents with others. Mr. Eubank, the Fine Arts Department Chair, sums up why Elaine is so deserving of tonight's recognition. It has been a pleasure to watch Elaine grow through each of the experiences she has taken on during her high school journey at Maine East. She is what we want Maine East students to be, one who challenges herself beyond her comfort zone, and through the challenge learns about strengths she did not know she possessed. In the process, she has built a resume that crosses so many genres, some in the performing arts, others in the visual arts. Here are a few: V-Show, Pit Orchestra, acting in plays and musicals, AP Studio art portfolio, working with dementia patients as an art therapy intern at Lutheran General Hospital, photography and performing one of the smoothest, prettiest vocal solos you've ever heard in this year's TV show. That is awesome. Described by one teacher as a Renaissance woman, Elaine plans to combine her passion for visual arts with her family's legacy in the healing arts by pursuing studies to become an art therapist. With her positive outlook on life and her demonstrated work ethic, she is well suited for the future success. On behalf of Maine East, we are happy to present you with the 207 class. Can you also share with us where you plan to go next year and
I'm going to Upton for 2 years to get some more credits, and then maybe move to and transfer to SAIC to do art therapy.
Smart move.
Awesome.
who'd you bring with you tonight?
My parents.
Next, we have Maine South, Mr. Scalero.
Hello, everyone. I'm pitching in for Dr. Collins, and here's the letter he wrote for Cole Ponzi, one of 207's best in fine arts for this year. There are many accomplished musicians at Maine South, but none is more impressive than Cole Ponzi. He's dedicated to the fine arts department and has made major contributions to the school and community while performing for close to 100 hours while at South. Cole's musical resume is impressive. He has been a member of jazz band 4 years, stage band 3 years, pit orchestra 3 years, V-Show act 4 years, concert band and wind ensemble 4 years, orchestra wind and wind ensemble 3 years, percussion ensemble 4 years, marching band 4 years, and snare captain, accompanied vocal jazz 3 years, sang in vocal jazz, and sang in choir for a year. Cole Ponzi hasn't been in choir for more than a year, and he's already one of the best singers in the state of Illinois. He was selected to the Illinois Music Educators Association District 7 Choir, which is the equivalent of making an all-area team. And then today we learned that he's been selected for the All-State Choir. Cole will perform at the Illinois Music Educators Conference in Peoria, Illinois as a member of this distinguished group. Cole is also involved in the National Honor Society, Science National Honor Society, Triad Music Honor Society, and our thespian troupe as well. Dawn B. Winga, Maine South Science Department Chair, says, Cole has been a remarkable leader for the Science National Honor Society this past year as president. He is very conscientious and always makes sure that his commitments are completed on time. He has brought some fresh ideas to the group and does a wonderful job posting interesting articles and opportunities on the Society's website. His remarks are always very thoughtful, and he has earned the respect of his peers through his hard work and dedication. Cole's band director, Mr. Hutter, spoke eloquently about Cole's contributions to Maine South. Outside of school, Cole demonstrates his desire to help others by creating his own math tutoring business. Since 8th grade, he started helping peers and younger students in town with the goal of mentoring kids to excel and enjoy math. Since the original formation of the business, He has become so successful that he has expanded the tutoring to help in other fields such as science, health, and Spanish. In addition to his business, he also volunteers at numerous charities and events in the community. Kevin Weiland, Cole's AP Computer Science teacher, says, Cole Ponzi is a fantastic student in my AP Computer Science class. He seems to enjoy the complexity and abstraction involved with programming. He likes to explain his reasoning to his problems with his classmates. While justifying his reasoning, he often communicates accurately and clearly. Cole isn't afraid to make mistakes and learn from them. I am very proud of Cole's accomplishments, both in and out of the classroom. Ms. Beth Edball, Cole's calculus teacher, says, Cole is competitive, driven, passionate, perceptive, and kind. He will go beyond in any career he chooses because that is the person he is. Cole will make a positive impact in college. Cole has many friends in high school because he is empathetic, considerate, and generally interested in the world around him. I will miss seeing Cole in the halls of Paul's next year, and I look forward to hearing from him as he progresses. Mr. Peter Nilsson says, Cole is a very dedicated student. He always makes sure that he does what he needs to do to be successful. He is also a valuable member of our math team. It has been a pleasure to have him in class and outside of class. He is a great young man. Finally, Mr. Mike Michione, Cole's math teacher, says, I had Cole sophomore year at AMA. Here again, he was a unique problem solver and does get very excited about solving problems and finding unique and interesting solutions. He's definitely the type of kid that wants to know why behind the math. Personally, and this is Dr. Collins, I met Cole just after I was hired as principal. I attended the final band concert of the year and was impressed with his professionalism. As I got to know Cole through the fall, by the way of the drum line, Cole struck me as a dedicated, personable young man. He worked hard, prepared his team well, and led a strong drum line each week to an enthusiastic crowd. The drum line marches through the school every Friday morning to get the school excited for the weekend, and Cole was at the center of that. The drum line is the heartbeat of Maine South, and Cole is their clear leader. And you know Dr. Collins can hit the drums pretty well. The Fine Arts program has benefited from Cole's presence to an extent that is difficult to imagine. He has been a constant presence all over school. He'll forever be in his debt. We will forever be in his debt, and thankful to Cole as one of our Fine Art alumni. He brought harmony to our lives. Congratulations to Cole on this excellent award. Well, Cole, what are your plans for next year?
Well, I don't know yet which college I'll be going to, but I plan on pursuing biomedical engineering as my major.
Fantastic. And I suppose there's somebody here with you tonight.
Yes, I'm here with my parents, Jill and Rick.
Photographer.
Congratulations to each of our, really your Renaissance students, so multi-talented. We have another award, it's a superintendent's award that we'd like to have Oliver present.
So before I do that, I want to connect some dots here with Elaine's award, and you heard that she's done some work, actually really innovative work around art therapy. And I was fortunate this week, last week actually, we had a visit from the Successful Practices Network. District 207 was one of 25 districts in America chosen to be included in the study for innovative practices that improve student achievement, and we're really, really proud of that. But as part of that visit, we got to hear the art therapy in our career networking program. And it's just a really, really compelling example of the innovative things that our teachers are doing with our students to connect dots and open up career activities that frankly, a lot of people wouldn't even have considered. And a lot of the young people who were doing the art therapy, they came from families where they want me to go to medicine, they want me to go to medicine, they want me to go to medicine, but their passion might be in art. And it's just an interesting way to look at the world where if we could get it right for every kid in this district, what we would do is we would take their talents, we would take their passions, we would take their dreams, what's their why for what they want to do in the world, and we would find a career path with that, and for whatever that is. So this is just a really cool example of really being inclusive and opening up a pathway that you might not have thought about before that does work at the intersection of medicine and also of art. So just a really, really cool thing, and being part of this this honor to be one of 25 districts is really a credit to the board up here that lets us do innovative things to our staff, to our kids, to our families, and everybody. So we're really, really proud of that. All of the students, you know, you had letters from your teachers, and so the next award tonight that we're going to award goes to a teacher that, for as long as he's been practicing with us, answers that question for a lot of our students to get at what's my why. And one of the things about compelling educators, and you'll never meet a compelling educator for whom this is not true, they inspire. They don't just teach, they inspire. They present the world and the bigger issues of the world, the bigger themes of the world, in a way that really moves students and connect to the larger world and the larger community, frankly, in the world. And so we just learned just a few weeks ago that our Voice for the Nameless Club at Maine West, under the direction of Randy Harper, has been named the Student Group of the Year by the Midwest Amnesty for International organization. And Randy Harper, our longtime teacher and inspirational leader, has been named the Faculty Advisor of the Year. So we've got awards for Randy and then his student leaders, Mariah Adams, Astiri Alviso, Abdi Mustafa, Jennifer Roca, Elizabeth Safanet, and Natalia Walden. And we want them all to stand up. And so, Randy and students, we'd like for you to kind of fill us in on some of the things that you guys have been doing. I know you guys travel, you do some wonderful things, so if you could just share with the board and the audience all the things that you guys have been doing.
Well, it's easy to win an award if you have a really good group, and so this current version started about 8 years ago. We had about maybe 5 to 10 kids, and this year we've been averaging 40 to 50 students in our meetings at 7 a.m. But I asked them if they just, for them to share something that we've been fortunate enough to be involved in. So Mariah, why don't you tell them about the backpack?
Okay, for Voice for the Nameless, we held a backpack drive where we collected 60 backpacks and supplies, and we put all the supplies in the backpacks and delivered to Refugee One for the students, and Yo-Yo Ma was there performing.
Which was a surprise.
You would have been there anyway.
Elizabeth?
Okay, we do a lot of work with an organization called Inspiration Corporation. Its slogan is Catalyst for Self-Reliance, where they provide counseling and caseworkers and job training for people who are homeless or in poverty in the city of Chicago. And where we go volunteer is where they're provided with free meals, but they're served as if they're at a restaurant with dignity. And a lot of us have worked, I think all of us have been there multiple times, where we go, we work in the kitchen and we serve them, we get to interact with them. And over 100 hours compiled, like together, we've dedicated our time there.
We saw that they had and we're in the second tier for volunteers, so that was really nice. So, just mentioned
So last year we brought up a refugee resolution to the city and council, and we got a lot of positive feedback, but along with positive feedback, we did get some negative feedback. We were not able to pass the resolution, but I think I can speak for all of us that it was just very important that we get an idea out there and we present our ideas to other people, and we stress the importance of diversity and acceptance and tolerance. So one of the things that resulted was that we did receive the Amnesty Award, and I think for all of us it was just very proud moment because we were able to not necessarily have it passed, but we did cause a change, and we did present an idea to everyone.
And I just wanted to make a general comment. So as a high school student, you're always wondering if you're going to be taken seriously. And with Voice, the work we've been doing, the awareness we've been raising, it just really shows that high school students do have the potential to make a change. And there's times that we might not pass something like the refugee resolution, but the key to taking action is to first raising awareness and letting people know what is going on in the world, and everyone becoming more worldly and getting out there into our communities, making a positive difference as a high school student. So, thank you.
Thank you, guys. guys in here. I don't know if that background's bad or not. Okay, we'll Photoshop this out. Great. Okay, thank you guys also.
Congratulations to all of our award recipients, very impressive. At this time, if you'd like, our superintendent award winners can go with your parents and your principal representatives and have your photos. And this is also a time for you to leave the business portion of the meeting. And you're welcome to stay. Thank you for coming.
Congratulations. Wonderful. Awesome. That is so cool. I know. He's going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, public comment.
So, update from the superintendent?
Let's see, we're going to do this after. Just again, we had just a tremendous visit this week from Practices Network. We got a chance to see all three schools. I couldn't have been more proud of the work. And in a minute, I'll give you just a little bit of an overview of some birthday. We started actually with our consultant and looking at the data and how we really look at data to really get to the personalized level of students. We finished the visit the second day with some, West has a program called Ascend. These are students who traditionally in years past we wouldn't have gotten into our accelerated programs, and they got in one of the ladies, said, I didn't think I belonged here, this is where the smart kids were. And when she got into class and realized that she could not just survive but really thrive, it was just, it couldn't have, it just tied the whole two-day visit together perfectly, because it went from, and you'll see in a minute, a star on a tableau report to a person, and really illustrated what we're trying to do with data to increase success for all our students, and it's particularly access, because to increase success, you've got to increase access. So just a really, really good visit, very proud of the work that our buildings are doing.
Updates from board members. I'm going to start, if I could. I handed out to all board members a letter that we received from Barb Toney, who is the woman from the Illinois Association of School Boards who conducted our self-evaluation workshop. And the last 2 pages of that are what we are calling board agreements. She drafted these based on our discussion. And these are some things that she has recommended that we adopt as a board. We won't do it at this meeting. I distributed it to you today so you can look it over if you have changes or comments. And I also wanted Greg to take a look at these just to make sure they don't conflict with our board policies in any way. I do not think they do. These have to do with practices and procedures relating to things like processing concerns and input that we get from the community. What's the best way to do that? We should really have a practice that we follow. Also, the best way of getting information about issues that we're addressing as a board. How do you do that? How do you go to Ken? We talked about this, and so these statements here are things that Barb believes we've agreed on. I just want everyone to look it over. It'll be on the agenda for next month, and we'll go ahead and adopt it with any changes that we come up with. So if you have anything, let me know. If you have any changes or questions, let me know, and then Greg, I'll follow up with you about any possible conflicts with board policies.
So Carla, I attended the ISB meeting.
Yes.
Student conference downtown. Lots of information, and it's like they had 10 concurrent workshops going on all at the same time. So you had to really choose which ones to attend. I also, before I forget, I want to make sure that Ken actually get recognized because he did a great presentation at the program, and I think it's information that I I don't think I've seen all of them, but it would really be great if all of us could actually see the presentation.
You can see some of it tonight.
Yeah, so that was really good. One thing that I wanted to bring up is I did send a PowerPoint presentation to both of you, three of you, and I thought it was actually really good because it covered hot topics in 2017. And I'm just going to go real quickly what they are. Evidence-based funding, a lot more specific. I think we'll send you the PowerPoint. SSA plan, SSI-based expenditure reporting. The POWER Act, which is the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act. The ED 360, Illinois Classroom Connectivity Initiatives. Teacher shortage is a big one. That was the topic. But the overall theme of the conference is whole child, whole school, whole community, which I thought was actually very, very good. So I picked up some books that I thought this was very interesting. There's a quick reference back to school board members. You probably won't get all of it. It's very handy and could be very helpful. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. If you want more details, we can talk offline.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for the report. Thanks for attending.
And also, I had a chance to visit South Korea last week and had an opportunity to visit our international sister school, which is Taiwan High School, and meeting with the members of the school, the principals and assistant principals and so on. And then we share some basic information about and the future relationship with the school exchange programs, school student visits, and so on. And along with the line, I also share with them about our capital projects, and which they were very interested because they were in the 70th anniversary of their school, and they're in the same stage, a similar stage as our situation regarding renovating on their school renovation projects and so on. So they were very interested in how our capital projects are going and what's going to be looked like in the near future. So they might be also interested possibly visiting and take a look at the infrastructures or other matters along that line. So we told them we will be happy to share public records of our capital project information to them so that they can have some learning experience and about what they want to do in the future for their school as well. So it's going to show them.
Thank you.
And they also give regards to our members.
Well, you made that back. Thank you. Did you have something, Terry?
Yeah, I had an announcement from a CAF that there's monthly meetings about parents, with parents. And this month, Ken is going to be our featured speaker, and I didn't want anybody not to know about it. He's going to talk about it.
What day is it? Do I have it on my calendar?
December 21st.
Okay, I got plenty of time.
Thursday, yeah.
What are you
Thursday, December 21st.
Put me on my dissertation topic.
On communication differences between boys and girls.
What time is it?
8:30 in the morning. Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
That's a problem. Good, I got my reminder in. The whole world knows.
Okay. And where?
Oh, at Main South in the principal's conference room.
8:30. Okay. Finance committee update. Sean?
Yeah, on November 8th, we had a finance meeting called to order at 5:34 p.m. I was attended by myself and Randy Coyle. We discussed this on 6 items: the TIF update, the investment utility report, the agreement with Northwest Orthopedics, graduation picture contracts with grad images in Central Valley, cap and gown RFP, and the board policy revisions addressing finance. There's a very in-depth laundry list of a lot of topics. We adjourned at 6:16 p.m.
Thank you. All right, we'll move along to monthly status of finances. Mary?
There are 3 components to tonight's report. The first is the October financial information. On both revenue and expenditure sides, we're in line with budget. You'll see some anomalies on the expenditures because we've done the boilers and we did the transfer. This would be the same every month, as you'll see that. On the revenue side, the only anomaly besides the transfer was in the transportation fund. You'll see a slight level of increased revenue. Don't get excited. That's just finally the state paying us last year's payments. So as a percentage of the year, it looks a little skewed. The other component is the investment volatility report. This is kind of an informational item that we do quarterly because only at the end of the year, during the audit, we take our investments from their carrying value to their market value. So the investment volatility, and this is no change of hands, it's kind of like a revenue adjustment. So if September 30th was our year end, the market value adjustment would have been $707,000. So it just kind of gives you, what that tells us is the value of our investment portfolio is greater than the carrying amount, which to me means that interest rates have been slightly on a little bit of a decline. So if we, because our portfolio is laddered over multiple years, should we see rapidly rising interest rates, the market value would probably drop until such times as our maturities caught up. Third component is TIP update. This information is based on the 2016 annual reports from the municipalities. They have 6 months to complete those, then we meet. I go through each TIP. The only two that I want to highlight are TIP 7 in Des Plaines and TIP 7 in Rosemont. Incidentally, these are across the street from each other. And in 2016 and carrying through 17, they're starting their redevelopment agreements by building hotels and restaurants and gas stations. So we should start to see, for them, they'll start to see the activity. We'll wait 23 years, but the good news is that there are redevelopment projects started in those TIP areas. As you recall, TIP 7 in Des Plaines was a spin-off of TIP 6, and they spun it off to try and get some viable redevelopment projects because they had been sitting there in a TIP for many years without any activity. I'll entertain any questions anybody has on either the October financials, the investment volatility report, or the TIP update.
Questions, comments? Okay. Thank you, Mary. Instructional services, student performance update.
Okay, so last month, I went on a little bit of a mini rant about the report cards and promised to come back this month, so I need help. I want to do this in 10 minutes or less. You signal at 5, 9, okay, here we go.
I'll back up.
At 9, just let me know at 9 gets here. Okay, so I want to start with this, there's this notion out there of the good old days. This is from the 1986 Tribune when the ACT was an optional test, and I just want to give some perspective. In 1986, look at our low income numbers. South had 0.2% low income. East had 2.7% of low income, and West had 3.4% of low income. Today, East is 50, reported approximately 50. The true number is probably 60. West is in the low 40s. The true number is probably 50. And South is reported at, what, about 7, 8, 9% now. If East and West were still the same, South would have our highest number of low income today. So things are kind of relative. In 1986, the test was optional. So the people taking it were people that assumed they would go to college. So you can see the percentage of test takers. South had the highest, followed by East, followed by West. The means, even at South, with 0.2% of low income, their mean in 1986 for people who chose to take the ACT is almost 2 points lower than our current mean with 100% of participation. So this notion that you hear from time to time in the community of this school or this district or that district not being what it used to be is simply just not true. I've got the Trib article from this if you want to see the actual article. This is a linear regression model, and I had the guy that did this for the CADCA groups, which is Chicago area districts, and this is based on the original modeling in 2002 what would happen over time if your low income went from 11.7% to actually almost 30% over time, what would happen to your mean scores? And so the red line represents what we could model happening to our mean scores. Just using a linear regression analysis. The fact is, our low income has nearly tripled and our mean has gone up. In educational statistics, that is unprecedented. It just doesn't happen. Along with that, and this just shows low income, what it also doesn't show is it doesn't show diversity. So in educational statistics, if you increase low income, you generally have a decrease in performance. If you increase diversity, you generally have a decrease in performance. We've done two things and increased performance. So that's something that's important to just note over time about our general performance trends. This is part of the presentation that Aurora saw down at the Triple I. This is just our college degrees. We greatly outpace the national average, significantly outpace the national average. This is our AP Challenge Index. South made the 3.0 last year. Remember, we set a goal to get all three schools to 3.0 by 2020. South made it last year. West is on pace right now, according to Dave Makovic, to meet it this year, and I think East may even have a chance. So we may meet that goal district-wide 2 years early. But you can see our trajectory online. We've really moved up. This is our challenge index by building. You can see South has a 3.09 last year. West should, if they have the same proportion of test takers this year, they should meet it this year as well. And I think East will be close to making it. So we could make that goal 2 years in advance. This is a stat that I'm really, really proud of. This is how we're growing access to our challenging program. So remember that in the old days, and not that long ago, if you didn't have a certain score in the 8th grade, you didn't get into our accelerated program. You didn't get into our accelerated program, you didn't get into AP. We have blown the doors open on that, and so we've got more access, more equity now than ever before. Since 2008, we've increased by 20% the number of students taking accelerated, taking dual credit, taking advanced placement. And you can see our line is steadily climbing. We don't know what the ceiling is, but we know we're not close to it. So we're going to keep this trend going forward. And again, what this is about, when you have policies that lock kids out of these programs, if you study them, what you will find is you're locking out your poorest students, you're locking out your students of minority. And that if you don't take steps to change that, it will not change itself. So I'm really, really proud of the work we're doing here. Getting into some of the report card stuff. So the state, if you look at the red, this is what ISB calls the state benchmark. The blue is what SAT calls the benchmark. And I'm going to focus on English because the math benchmark is actually pretty close, and the difference in performance is pretty close. It's within 10%. But looking at the English benchmark, this will show you just the arbitrary nature of decisions made on testing. The College Board says that if you get a 480 in language arts on the SAT, you have a very high likelihood of getting at least a C in a college-level English course. The state of Illinois, what does it do? It sets a cut at 540, and so what that does is it brings that number down by 21.4%. It's that volatile in terms of the number. Now the Illinois State Board of Ed will give you a justification for this, but I just am not buying it. Another little piece of information, if you look at the bottom, just moving from ACT to SAT, just that move, increased our college readiness by 11.2%. Just changing tests. What does that illustrate? It illustrates the arbitrary nature of these tests. If they're either one is right and one is wrong, or they're both wrong, I would say they're both wrong because they all underrepresent. Okay, so redefining ready. Redefining ready, which we adopted. We were one of the first, I think, 5 districts in America to adopt redefining ready. And what it does is it gets multiple measures that track to success. What's the #1 predictor of college success? Your high school GPA. What's the #1 predictor of high school success? Actually, it turns out to be your middle school GPA. So they're better, and if you think about it, it's multiple measures over time, multiple teachers in multiple classes. It's a much more stable predictor. So when we look at our kids in a redefining ready framework, all of a sudden now we've got almost 60% of our students defined in redefining ready as college ready. Why does that matter? Because our actual performance shows us that we're actually hitting that. When you look at the 8-year profile class of 2009. Right now, about 62.8% of them have completed degrees. That will be underrepresented because we have to subscribe to the National Student Clearinghouse, so we don't get all the data. Okay, personalization. And that's really where we're going, that's what we're doing, and that is treating each student like an individual, not sorting, but supporting every student to be their very best. Our early warning system looks at 3 variables: credits, grades, and attendance. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but we found that those variables correlate the most to student success. So we track those, and 2 of those you track daily: grades, attendance. So we're making moves immediately when students hit certain marks on those. So here's what I want to get to. This is Tableau. You guys have all heard about Tableau. The orange shows our accelerated courses, the blue shows our regular courses on STAR and on SAT. We have multiple measures. So you can see these 2 groups. Look what happens when we peel away the blue is kids in regular courses, the orange is kids in accelerated courses. Here's our blue. We peel away separately. And here's what we're starting to do. We're looking for the overlap, and we're grabbing kids and we're moving them up. If we were in Tableau Live, if you hovered over any one of those letters, a kid pops up and information about that kid. So it's really very dynamic. We just are getting into this, and we've discovered, here's the best thing. We're discovering places where we're wrong. I'm going to say that again. We're discovering places where we're wrong. And there's nothing more powerful. If you want to get better, you have to know where you're wrong. And we're figuring out ways that we're getting it wrong. So here's our literacy screening process. And again, we're looking at kids in STAR reading versus the SAT suite. We're looking at grades over time. Here's what's really, really cool. You can see the various quadrants where the kids are. Up in this upper quadrant, these are your kids that test the highest probably on both of those measures. And here's what's really interesting. Look at the Ds. The Ds tell a big story. So you've got these really powerful test takers up here that are earning as many Ds, in some cases more Ds, than your lower performing test takers. What does that tell us? It tells us that a single measure doesn't tell the whole story. It's often really incomplete. Here's Fs. Look at Fs. Our Fs in this group are from some of our highest performing test takers. Again, it demonstrates how we get it wrong. And what we tend to do is we tend to think of, if you scored a high on a standardized test, that automatically you're a powerful student. There's so many other variables that come in. Standardized tests don't measure things like grit, like determination, persistence, how you get along with other people, how you work in groups. It doesn't measure a lot of stuff. So this is a little snapshot into Tableau. Data-driven program decisions. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to give just a real quick snapshot. Here's how we used to do it. Look at 2014. What did we discover? We weren't doing as good a job across all 3 buildings as we needed to. We made changes in 2015 to spread this across the district, and look at our performance since then. Look at how much growth we've had, and this is in reading. This is in reading. For our students that are poor readers. How's my time?
9 minutes.
Boom! Did it.
Except
You didn't think I
too
could.
fast. What, can you tell me?
Wait, it's too fast.
Well, wait,
Sean, you heard that. Too
do this-
fast.
Well, you have a minute.
Okay.
So, go back to that. What was that again? What,
These are students who are growing in reading.
and what was the change made in 2015? Yeah.
How we did reading programming. Sean, you might
Can
want
you
to
give me
speak.
one specific example of that, just to make more sense?
So what we did was we shifted away from kind of an instead of model, meaning we don't think that you can really fit in this class. We're going to give you a different class where we'll really focus on your need, to an extra dose model. So we kept you in the class we felt was the right class for you, but we gave you more support outside of the classroom while you rode along in that regular level, or in that case a T level class. And by doing that with specifically Reading Plus has probably been the most effective program we've used. But by doing that, what we've seen is that kids don't fall behind. They actually start to make those incremental gains that are necessary to keep them accelerate, at least on pace, get to being on pace, and then hopefully accelerate.
So these are kids in all different courses. They could be in AP or...
Well, in that particular case, we're looking at a group of students who is in 0100T, which is a transitional level course. So they're some of our neediest kids.
Okay.
So these are kids who are coming in below grade level.
Okay.
And getting that extra dose.
Okay.
And this is where using data, you hear people say data-driven decision-making, data-informed decision-making is a better term, but if you're not paying attention to the data, especially if you're not looking at yourself to find out how to get better. And so we had in reading, we had, one building did one thing, one did another. Well, that creates the conditions where you can compare, what's working. That's what really, at the end of the day, matters. And that's really what's informed a lot of this. And you all heard this. I went too fast. You hear that? That's never happened.
That was the opinion of one member.
One member. Who's slow, so. Great. That's
Plus,
really
she had the worst seat because she had to turn around and she was right on top of the screen.
She had
Which
slides,
made,
like, sitting
whereas
in the front
those
row.
of us who were able to sit back and absorb some of the data. So yes, the Fs she was looking at were this tall.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Any other items, Ken?
That's it.
Okay. Any FOIA updates?
We got one in its process.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion on items 7A through F? Okay. Amy, will you take the roll? That was Paul. Austriaco? Aye. Collins? Aye. Lee?
Aye.
Coyle? Aye. Bessler? Aye. Sullivan?
Aye.
And Owen? Aye. Can I have a motion on item 8, the 2017 tax levy?
Yeah, it's going to be complicated, so we'll take a part of time. Number 1, which is that the Board of Education adopt a resolution providing for the levy of taxes by the Board of Education for 2017 in the amount of $118,136,858 as specified in Exhibit A.
We'll second that.
Second.
And then I want to read the resolution that is in Exhibit A. That there be and hereby levied the sum of $91,033,415 for educational purposes, being the sum estimated by the board is sum necessary to be levied as a special tax for educational purposes, that there be and is hereby levied the sum of $739,879, being the contribution by the board to the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. And that there be and is hereby levied the sum of $3,045,438 for Social Security purposes, being the sum estimated by the board is sum necessary to be levied as special tax for Social Security purposes. And that there be and is hereby levied the sum of $804,440 for transportation purposes, being the sum estimated by the board is sum necessary to be levied as special tax for transportation purposes. And that there be and is hereby levied as a special tax for the operation and maintenance purposes the sum of $18,506,526, being the sum estimated by the board is sum necessary to be levied as a special tax for the operation and maintenance purposes. And that there be and is hereby levied a special tax for fire prevention and safety purposes the sum of $1,169,486, being the sum estimated by the board is sum necessary to be levied by a special tax for fire prevention and safety purposes, that there be is hereby levied as a special tax for tort immunity purposes the sum of $1,183,807, being the sum estimated by the board is the sum necessary to be levied as a special tax for tort immunity purposes, and that there be is hereby levied the sum of $1,673,867 for the purpose, for special education purposes is being the sum estimated by the board is sum necessary to be levied as a special tax for special education purposes, and that there be is hereby levied the sum of $0 for working cash purposes, being the sum estimated by the board is special tax for working cash purposes, and there be is hereby levied the sum of $0 for facility leasing purposes, being the sum estimated by the board as the sum necessary to be levied as a special tax for leasing educational facilities or computer technology or both, all upon equalized or assessed valuation of all taxable properties for the district as applied or assessed for the total revenue table of for the year 2017. I read that because there were no questions during the unnecessary public session that we held, but it's for the purpose of transparency. So all those numbers I read add up to the motion of $118,136,815.
Thank you. Okay. And that's already been seconded, so you can take the roll and we'll go to, we want to go to the, any questions on any of that? Okay. Would you take the roll? Bessler? Coyle? Aye. Lee?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Collins? Aye. Austriaco? Aye. Owen? Aye.
And the second part of number 8 is the Board of Education certifies the tax for special education programs and purposes, which is identified in Exhibit B as $1,603,867. So moved.
Second.
That is the same number that I read in the long resolution I just read.
Okay, any questions or comments on that? Okay, you need to take the roll. Sullivan? Lee? Collins? Austriaco? Bessler? Coyle? Owen? Aye.
And third, the Board of Education will certify the inapplicability of the Truth in Taxation Act. The President is going to sign upon our motion to pass it that preliminary to the adoption of the 2017 tax levy by the board did not comply with provisions of sections 1855 through 1885 of the Truth in Taxation Act because the provisions of sections 1855 through 1885 of the Act are inapplicable to the Board of Education's approved tax levy. This certification of the applicability of the Truth in Taxation Act, the school district's levy is hereby provided for the filing with the county clerk of Cook County as required by section 18-90 of the Act. So I will move the Board of Education certify the inapplicability of the Truth in Taxation Act.
Second. Thank you. Any questions on that? Comments? Okay. Lee? Sullivan?
Aye.
Lee? Coyle? Collins? Bessler? Austriaco? Owen? Aye. Okay, thank you, Sean. Moving along to item 9, approval of bids and awarding of contracts. Some of these are no cost. Do you want to take them individually or?
However, the board thinks.
All right.
I would move them all as a group unless somebody has an objection. So I'll move 9A through E.
Okay, second. Okay. You want to discuss
I'll
that?
talk a little bit about each one. So 9A is our agreement for doctors with Northwest Orthopedics, and this is a $0 agreement. It's a 5-year agreement, and they provide sideline doctors for sporting events and as needed and at the request of Mid-South. We have similar agreements at East and West. They are, however, with Advocate and their doctors. 9B is Grad Images. This is a graduation pictures contract. It's the photographer that takes us pictures at the actual graduation ceremony. This contract covers Maine South and Maine West. Maine East is covered by the next contract, 9C, which is Central Valley. Both of the photographers give each school $1.50 per student address. So they are both happy with their providers. These are 3-year contracts. We move toward having the contracts end the same year. Should either of any of the schools be then not happy with the services they're receiving, we can look at entertaining and moving toward a sole vendor. 9D is Zollner Graduate Supplies. This is cap and gown. We did an RFP. We've got 4 responses. Zollner is an online company that provides us the lowest responsible bid. They bid $14.50 for the first 2 years and then $14.65. They provide what's called the keeper cap and gown. So it's the cap and gown and the tassel. This is a cost that we pass on to students. So we look to get the best cost for these.
And it's a five-year?
It is a 3-year contract.
Okay, for year 3 it goes up. Okay.
Yes.
And this is for 3 schools, correct?
All 3 schools. And 9E is a contract with Alera. Alera is our electrical and mechanical engineering company. They are, in November, the board approved the replacement of the fire alarm system at Maine South. Alera will be overseeing that. Their cost for that is $42,500, which is about 6% of the contract cost. If we went through the architect through Alera, we'd be paying more like 8.5%. So going to Alera direct saves the district money. We are very pleased with Alera's services. They're very qualified to handle and oversee a mechanical project like this. So, but because it's greater than $25,000 and we do not have a master agreement with Alera, we bring the contract to the board. Alera is doing a number of other projects for the district, but their fee for those projects does not exceed $25,000. No, it's got my name on it. Once you approve it, you can direct an official from the district to sign it.
But this is a new contract?
This is a new, it's an architect, an A201 contract, same standard language that we have, just the new name of the project and the dollar value, but it's the same architectural contractual template that we've used in the past.
Okay. All right.
Just quickly, I know you probably did share this previous years related to the picture services. The reason is we are using two different companies for three different schools. For the cost effective wise, isn't it somewhat still better to collaborate to one company? Was there a reason?
We will receive no additional compensation above the $1.50 per student. So because the schools are each happy with their rate of spending, we will allow them to continue. A number of years ago, when we looked at these contracts, Mady's was actually getting less than that. And their incumbent provider agreed to bump it to the $1.50 to retain their business. So long as the parents and the students are happy with the quality of the pictures that they're receiving at graduation, we don't feel compelled to take it away from one contractor who's giving us the same amount and just hand it to a sole contractor.
This is not costing us.
This is not costing us anything.
Okay, any other questions? All right, then Ginny, would you take the roll? Gessler? Coyle? Collins? Austriano? Sullivan? Lee?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Okay, item 10, calendar items. I know education is canceled for December. Anything else that anybody wants to add, or?
If I can suggest moving, we have an ed committee meeting scheduled for January 15th, but that's Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, so it will be. We can move it a week, we can move it a day, whichever you would prefer. We can go to Tuesday, or we can go to the following Monday.
Okay. Who else is on education? You guys have
Like a Monday,
the
Thursday.
22nd?
Okay.
22nd. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Okay. All right, any other communications or public comments at this time? All right, can I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of reviewing closed session minutes and appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees? Second. Thank you. Jenny, will you take the roll? Austriaco? Bessler? Collins? Coyle? Lee? Sullivan? Owen? Aye.